Hello everybody, welcome back to a new episode of I Talk to Notebooks. Today I'm going to be reviewing this little device here. This is the PeriPage printer, available on Amazon. This is actually going to be a very long video. I can show you here, I've got notes for days. So it's very important that you take a look in the table of contents, which is going to be in the description box, and that's going to allow you to skip around the video and so you get the information that is most important to you, because otherwise you may just be sitting here listening to me talk about a lot of different topics for a while. Because believe it or not, this little device actually started a rabbit hole that I have still a lot to learn about probably, but enough that I feel confident making a video for you guys with a pretty thorough evaluation of this printer. Now, one little quick thing to get out of the way. My audio might be a little bit different, a little bit lower quality, because this video is a lot to film. I didn't want to throw in the complexity of messing around with the microphone this time, so I'm just using my phone's built-in microphone. So if that's a huge problem, I'm sorry, but it was just too much to do all of this and the microphone. A wise man once told me that complexity is the death of simplicity. So I'm trying to avoid that problem altogether. Right here at the beginning, I'm just going to do a quick overview of the topics we're going to be covering so you can be aware. If you don't have access to the description box at the moment, you're in the shower, you're driving, kind of get an idea of where this video is going to go so that when you do have the opportunity, you can know where to skip to. So I'm going to start with, I'm just going to do some quick specs, takeaways, just the bullet point, whether you should get the printer or not first. Then I'm going to do a review of the device itself physically. I'm going to explain a little bit about how it works. I'm going to give a list of the pros and the cons, and I'm going to do a discussion about the technology that comes behind this printer, which is thermal printing. At this point, you are going to want to tune in if you are considering getting an HP Sprocket, which is a different printer altogether, but it's actually relevant. There's some stuff about the HP Sprocket that may not be advertised correctly, and there's some skepticism about it, and it may not be the printer for you. And if you have one, you're going to want to be aware of this. So I definitely recommend going to that section, the discussion of the thermal printing technology, if you are considering getting a Sprocket or if you have one. I'm going to do the cost analysis. We're going to crunch some numbers. We're going to get really in the weeds, and I'm going to show you that, as clickbaity as the title is, this printer it virtually is free to print photos with this printer. It's very low cost. There's nothing that compares to it. And I'm going to do a demo of the printer, which means I'm going to show you how the app works. This printer does have a free app that comes along with it, and it is a brilliant app, and I'm going to show you all the cool features that the app has. And then at the end, I'm going to do a summary that sums up what we talk about. So first, right off the top, this printer is very cost effective. It is very convenient, but the big problem with this printer is that the prints are not permanent. We don't know how long they last. Some websites say maybe 6 months. Some websites say maybe 22 years. No, here's the cat. Some websites say maybe 6 months. Some websites say maybe 22 years. There's a lot of different factors that go into it that I'm going to get into later in the video. But if you are trying to print something archival, you're trying to make a wedding journal, and you're trying to save all your memories or your baby's first moments, I would not recommend this printer for that at all. Also, the quality of it is not great. If you want something quick and easy, there are workarounds for it that are very simple and amazing and brilliant that can actually help compensate for the low quality. But it's very cost effective, very convenient. I use it for things like memes, text messages, notes, things that I'm not going to die if and when they fade, and things that, aren't super sentimental, or super requiring high quality. It's also a black and white printer. Okay, that's all you need to know. You can click off if that's all you wanted to know about it. Now, let me do a review of the printer itself. Okay, now let's do a look at the printer itself. So this is the PeriPages thermal printer. Mine is brown. They come in a wide variety of colors, and I paid about $2 extra to get it in brown. You can get it for $38 on Amazon for most of the colors. A couple of the colors are $2 extra. I think brown is that color, and maybe white is another one that's a little bit extra. It has a little bear design here. That's just a decoration. There's no functionality to this nose. It's not a button. You got the PeriPage logo up here. On the front, I can't really see what's filming. Hold on, let me move. Up here on the front, you have a single button. This is a light up button. I'm going to show this in a minute, but this is going to turn the printer on. And if you hit it twice, or maybe it's 3 times in a row, it will print out a QR code that you can scan to get the app from the App Store. There's also, this is where the paper comes out, there is a serrated, kind of like a tin foil dispenser piece of metal there, so you can rip the paper out as it comes off. And here on the side is the micro USB charging port. The printer comes with a, it does come with a charging cord that is going to be micro USB on one end and standard USB on the other end. It does not come with a wall adapter, and I think I lost the cord, but it is really small. It's basically useless. So you're going to need to get your own micro USB cord if you want to be able to charge this in a way that human beings can actually charge it. So that's how the outside looks. Now here you see these two opposite arrows. That means that you can pull them this way, and that's going to open the printer up. So when you open it up, we're going to see the inside of the printer. This is a roll of the thermal paper. You have to use thermal paper with this printer. We're going to get into it more. The printer does come with a roll of what feels to be fairly high quality thermal paper, and it's very easy to replace. You just take it out, put it in. It's not rocket science. Up here we have the thermal print head, and this is all that is required to print onto this paper. The paper itself does the magic. You do not need ink, you do not need a ribbon, you do not need toner, you do not need anything at all except for this special type of paper. The way that this printer works is you connect it to your phone through Bluetooth, and it connects pretty seamlessly most of the time, unless it's low on charge, and then the Bluetooth will act up. And then what you do is you just use the app that is provided to very simply and easily select the photo that you want to print, or other things. You can print other things besides photos. We'll get into that. And then you can select some different quality features of the image, different selections and settings about the image, because there's a lot of really clever workarounds for the fact that this just prints out a 4-inch wide strip of paper. They have a lot of workarounds to give you more printing options besides that. So we can get into that in the app section. And then you just hit print, and it just prints it out. It tells you how many centimeters it's printing, and then when it prints out, it prints really, really fast, and then you just rip off the end, and it's no big deal. The pros and cons of this printer are really, really simple. This printer is extremely affordable at around $40 US dollars. On Amazon Prime, you can get it shipped to your house quickly and affordably. The paper refills are extremely affordable. You're not going to find anything like this in terms of affordability. We will get into that in the cost section later in some more detail. It is rechargeable, which means that you don't have to be worrying about batteries, and it has a very long charge life. I've used it for like several days to a week and very intensively without having to recharge it. It is very lightweight, very, very, very lightweight. I mean, this weighs almost nothing. So you can take it with you on the go to a cafe, traveling, no matter where. It is super convenient. You don't have to plug it into anything to get it to work. You just have it with you. I can print out as many prints as I want at a Starbucks cafe, outdoors if I want to. No Wi-Fi, nothing. It's amazing. It has a very fantastic app, in my opinion. Not to say there isn't room for improvement, but the app is really what makes this shine, because this could be a really disappointing printer with very limited functionality, but the app finds ways through software to work around the limitations of the hardware, which is really impressive. The cons are that it's black and white only, so if color printing is really, really important to you, this is not going to be the printer for you. I find lots of cases where black and white images are fine. Text images I don't care about, memes, but some people are going to want all of their images to be colored, so that would not be good for you. It has a generally low image quality, as I stated, so if you want a lot of really small photos, they're going to have worse image quality, and there's going to be some limitations there. It's not permanent. It's a receipt. You're printing receipts. That's what this is. It's the same technology stores use to print receipts. However, it's probably not going to fade away, especially if you don't keep your journals in the sunlight. We'll talk more about the limitations of thermal paper, but in most situations, it will probably last around 10 years would be my guess based on other information I have, which I can show you, but I cannot guarantee it. I do not know from experience. I've only had this printer for about a month, so I don't really know how long the prints are going to last. It depends highly on the paper. So yeah, it's not going to last forever. That's the big con. Okay, so now we need to talk a little bit more about what thermal printing technology is, because there are two types of thermal printing technology, and they can be confusing. And let me tell you that these types of printers, there are many types like this, they are not transparent about how thermal printing works or what it means. Basically, the thermal printing technology is the reason that the images don't last forever. Direct thermal technology just relies on applying heat to thermal paper, and then it will discolor various amounts of the paper based on how much heat is applied and where it's applied. So that means that the prints need to be stored. First of all, the paper quality is going to determine how long the images last, and it's very difficult to find any information when you're shopping for thermal paper on how long and how high quality it is. You will not be able to find information about that easily, so it's a bit of a gamble. It means that the prints need to be stored in a certain temperature and humidity range and will eventually fade no matter what. You also need to keep them away from light in general. So if you are somebody who is journaling at the beach every day, if you are somebody who lives in a really humid climate or a really cold climate, or you're always outside constantly journaling, then this is not going to be a good purchase for you because it's going to cause the images to fade a lot faster. It could be useful for other things like to-do lists. I mean, there's lots of stuff you can do with this printer that doesn't have to do with journaling, but if you're doing it for journaling, I would recommend, if you're going to be in harsh environments, rugged environments, this is not the printer for you. Probably. But for those of us who are living in kind of a normal place, it's going to be fine for a while. This is also true of Dymo labels. This is a lesser known thing that I've never heard anybody talking about, is that when you print labels with a device such as this Dymo Letra tag, this is also direct thermal printing. So it's applying heat directly to thermal paper, in this case Dymo thermal labels, and it's not going to last forever. They will fade, and I think Dymo says if you really look, they don't advertise it, but if you really go searching, Dymo has like a small disclaimer that says it should only last like 7 to 10 years. So that will not last permanently either. Now here's the problem. The HP Sprocket, remember I said I was going to talk about that. The HP Sprocket uses something called Zink paper. Now, Zink paper is in no way affordable. It is not on the level of this paper at all. However, it is also the same technology. The problem with Zink paper is that the only difference between Zink paper and this paper is that Zink paper actually is a colored thermal printing technology, whereas the different amounts of heat applied in different places actually change the color rather than just changing the grayscale intensity. So you may be paying a much higher premium for your Zink paper and really trying to print photos that will last for a long time, but it's actually possible that that's not the case. Okay, so here I have found an article called Zink Twice Before Capturing Memories on Zink Instant Photos. So this is the name of the type of printing paper that is used at the HP Sprocket and many other types of these portable journaling photo printers. So this is what I was concerned about, and I wanted to scroll you guys through this article I found on Petapixel from 2018. I'll link it below, of course. But basically, to summarize it, it shows that this is a direct thermal print. That's what Zink is. And it's kind of cool because it uses different color layers with each temperature. So it's kind of like a thermal version of screen printing is what I think of. And the problem is that, like it says here, it's similar to thermal fax paper. Which is concerning not only because of when you think of thermal fax paper, you think of something that doesn't last a long time, but also because there's no stability information on the products. Now, if you read this whole article, you're going to see a paragraph down here from, I believe, Zink, or I'm not sure what company created Zink. Polaroid, I think. So, Zink, they claim that it's been tested, and they claim that it's archival. That's the word they use. It's going to last as long as a typical photograph. But there's no details, can't be evaluated independently, and this person believes that the claims are meaningless because Fuji has published the longevity of their photos, which are not direct thermal, I believe. And there's also research labs that can do independent testing to prove whether this claim up here is actually true or not. And down here it says that Fuji, which is the same, Fujifilm is the one that had the Instax Mini, previously developed this other technology, which is thermal as well, and that it can be 8 to 12 years of length, which I think is pretty realistic, but that doesn't necessarily apply to the Zink paper. So just consider that before you get it, because these are not conversations that I'm hearing in the journaling community. It doesn't seem like people are aware of this as far as I can tell. And I only accidentally became aware of it just by obsessively reading Amazon Q&A about the PeriPage printer. And then I went down an obsessive rabbit hole of Googling about the longevity of different types of photos and direct thermal printers and thermal transfer printers, and that's how we got here. And by the way, don't mind my robe, I am very cold. A lot of the problems with these types of printers, with the HP Sprocket, anything that uses zinc paper, any kind of label printing receipts, even reputable sites that I would expect to be reputable anyway, like Brother and Zebra, that sell like industrial thermal printers, they are not transparent at all about how long these prints will last. In fact, this particular printer has Instagram photos with captions talking about printing memories that will last a lifetime, when scientifically that's just not the case. With a printer like this, it's not going to be printing memories that last a lifetime. So you really need to be doing your research before you buy anything, is the lesson that I would take from that, because the companies are not always going to be transparent with their advertising. Unfortunately, that's just the world that we live in. Companies want to make money. They don't want to give you the best product at the best price. I still think there are a lot of good, valid uses for this printer. I use it all the time, but the fading could be really disappointing if you are expecting it not to fade and you're printing your pregnancy photos with it, which is one thing that I saw being advertised as a use for this. Is a woman was printing photos of her pregnancy. She was printing all of her pregnancy photo shoots with this printer. Do not do that. Those are important photos that you're going to want for your lifetime. You don't want them to be on receipt paper. Receipts fade. Speaking of faded receipts, when I found out about all of this after I bought this printer. I didn't realize what the technology was, or that it would fade, or how any of that worked. I have receipts in my journals, Burger King receipts from a long time ago. Actually, almost 10 years ago. So I'm gonna show you. All right, so I went to Chipotle, and this was in 2012. I know that because you can see I wrote it there because I thought the receipt might fade, but there's also, on the receipt, it says the date, and you can see it right there, October 12th, 2012. This is a 9-year-old receipt, and you can see how much it's faded. Now this feels very thin, very low quality receipt paper. Not like the paper that comes with the Peri printer, but perhaps your refill paper that you buy would be a lot thinner and flimsier. So you're gonna have to do your own research about what kind of paper to buy. Peri does sell their own paper, but I don't think they sell it on Amazon, although they might. So, and this is a receipt that has been stored in low light, low humidity, very dark, very little UV is going to be getting through to it, and it's almost never handled, because handling these can make them fade faster too. I'll show you one more that I have in here. I have another receipt. This one is from Burger King. It is from 2011, so exactly 10 years old. Very, very flimsy paper, and you can barely see Burger King. The phone number is pretty clear. Eat in. Can you see what I got? I got chicken fries, 9 pieces, a small fry, and a small Coke. Subtotal and tax. It's still somewhat visible. And Friday, June 17th was when I went in 2011. So the other thing is, it depends on what you print, because you can see these are very tiny letters, so a little bit of fading will actually really affect how much you can actually read what is written. So if you print things in big letters, which this printer does allow you to print big letters, dark images, bigger images, then the fading will affect the image less over time, and it will probably last longer, I'm guessing. And by last, I don't mean how much % fading, I mean how much you can read it as a human being, and how much utility the image itself is to you. Now, there's another type of thermal printer called a thermal transfer printer. This is a direct thermal printer. Thermal transfer printers are a lot harder to find. I have not been able to find a single one that is marketed towards journaling and being affordable, mobile, and lightweight. I'm not sure if the technology allows it. The difference between a direct thermal printer and a thermal transfer printer is that the thermal transfer printer also uses heat technology, but instead of applying it to thermal paper, which degrades, it applies it to a ribbon, like a typewriter ribbon, that's going to either have wax or resin on it that is going to transfer that ink onto the paper, and it will last a much longer time. If anybody is aware of a thermal transfer printer and what the costs associated with that would be for somebody who wanted to use it for journaling, if it's possible to have one small enough that the convenience factor would still be there, please let me know. I find it very difficult to find them even with Bluetooth connectivity, because most of them rely on Wi-Fi, which is really frustrating if you're trying to watch YouTube while you journal and your Wi-Fi has to disconnect to reconnect to your printer. I really don't care for that. So that is another possible technology that you can use. Okay, so I want to talk a little bit about the cost analysis of how much it costs for these things. So I have here, I'm going to be comparing, for the most part, I'm going to be comparing these prints to the Instax Mini Instant Film. These are about, I think they are about like 1.5 inches, maybe 2 inches across and about 2.5 inches long for the image itself. They're color images, and these are 50 cents a shot to make one. So that adds up a lot over time. It can be very expensive. Now, this paper is 4 inches wide, so it's a lot wider than this, but we're going to pretend that it's the same width because we're trying to do the most conservative estimate possible and make this as expensive as possible. So when I give you the final number, bear in mind that's actually significantly higher than the real number, but we're just being conservative. And then 2.5 inches is actually a little bit less than 2.5 inches. It's 2.44 inches down this way, but we're just going to say 2.5 to make the math a little easier and again to be conservative. So all these numbers are high in terms of cost for this printer. You are going to be, also Zink paper is 50 cents a shot. You should not be paying 50 cents for thermal paper. That is just my opinion. I would not do the Zink thing. I don't like the looks of it. You saw the article that I showed you guys, like it just isn't worth it to me. This will not degrade as much. The color fidelity will change a little bit, but these last for, I mean, a very, very long time. We have Polaroids from a long time ago that are still, you can tell what's in them, and they're still somewhat faithful. It's not as good as like getting your photos printed at CVS, but it's better. It's a lot better than this, and it's better, I think, than Zink, although that's controversial. I can't prove that. Okay, so let's talk first of all, instead of this printer, I wanted to give you guys another alternative if you're worried about this. There's a third type of printer. It is called the Canon Selphy, and the Canon Selphy is bigger. It is 120 buckaroos right out of the gate to get that printer, and it's different. It does require ink. When you buy replacement sheets of paper, it comes with ink. So you can get the paper, 4x6 photo paper for the Sprocket, for the Selphy, with the ink cartridges that you need. And at that rate, if the ink in the paper lasts the same amount of time, which I do not know, please let me know down below if they last the same amount of time, it should be about 32 cents a shot. Now compare that to CVS. CVS is about 35 cents for a 4x6 image without a coupon. So you're actually getting a better deal and more convenience using the Canon Selphy at home. Now, bear in mind, you're going to want smaller photos than 4x6, almost certainly. Nobody wants to put a 4x6 photo in most of their journals. That's more of a scrapbooking size. So you're probably going to print at least 4 images on these 4x6 photos, which actually drops the cost down to around 9 cents per picture, which compared to 50 cents here, I mean, that is almost, let me think. I mean, that's almost 6 times less expensive than this. So that is, and I think they will last a long time because it's actual like photo ink printing. They advertise a lot of stuff about it being long-lasting prints, although I guess this printer does too. So you'd have to do a little bit of research on that, but I think that the Canon Selphy is a really good purchase for a middle ground between these two things, and I'm thinking of getting one. So let me know if you have one, if it's worth it. But the problem is that then you have to print 4 images at a time. But I'm going to get into that a little bit later. You lose a little convenience with the Selphy because if you're really going to print 4 images at a time and not waste any paper, then you're going to really not get your full money's worth out of it. Or if you don't do that, you won't get your full money's worth, or else you will lose a little bit of convenience because you'll need multiples of 4 images to print at a time. So, and of course they'll have to be the right dimensions because this paper just prints indefinitely long images, so you can print an image of any dimensions with this. And if you think I'm limiting it to like 4 inches wide, just wait until you see what this app can do. It's amazing. So also let me know if you have a Selphy, if it follows the hot dog and bun model with the ink and the paper. That makes me a little bit nervous. You know how hot dogs have like 8 hot dogs and then the buns are sold in packs of 9, and they've agreed to this so that you have to keep buying buns or keep buying hot dogs, and you never have them match up and run out of both at the same time and move on with your life. I'm wondering if they're doing that with the ink and paper for the Canon Selphy. All right, that's enough about the Selphy. This video isn't about the Selphy. We need to talk about the PeriPage. The PeriPage, so these are about 2.5 inches long. This is about, this is not as wide as the PeriPage. The PeriPage is 4 inches, I believe, and this one is a little bit smaller. So this is actually smaller than this, but we're gonna pretend they're the same height to be as conservative as possible. And so I got some thermal paper rolls. I don't believe they're up to quality of this. They feel a little bit thinner, but I got some thermal paper rolls on Amazon to replace this one because I didn't realize how long this roll was going to last. Those rolls, I was able to get 50 rolls of this width 50 feet per roll for $15, $15. So that's very inexpensive compared to getting 50 shots of this for about $30. Then the other thing is that you can get 240 Polaroid length pictures out of one roll of this. So that's 240 Polaroid pictures for what it adds up to be around 30 cents for all 240 of those pictures. So you can already see we have a low cost, even though we're doing high estimates. It's crazy. So what that means, when you get it all down to business, that means that each Polaroid length shot, each one of these guys, actually a little bit bigger, that you get out of this printer, is only 1/1000th of a penny. So that means that for each Polaroid size shot, each Instax mini size shot that you get out of this, you're paying 50,000 times less for that picture than you are for this one, or even for an HP Sprocket Zink image that may also not be permanent. So this is really, I mean, it's virtually free. I mean, this is as close to free photo printing as you can get. If we can find a way to make this last, I've done so much research, there just doesn't seem to be a way to preserve it. The answer is just photocopy it onto some other form of media. So this is just crazy cheap. And it's not like it's gonna fade tomorrow. They do last for a decent amount of time. We just don't know how long yet. If it's like 2 years, 10 years, 20 years, 6 months, who knows? I can't be sure. So I would say that this, if you are somebody who wants to print a lot of memes, low cost, you can deal with them fading, then freaking get this. It's so affordable, and it's so affordable. And it's not just that, it's convenient. The app is great. It's just amazing. If you are not feeling good about this, you're a little more archival, you want something that you can rely on a little bit more, or image fidelity and color is really, really important to you, get the Canon Selphy. Just save up for it. It's a little bit more expensive, so you may have to save up a bit longer, but if you just squirrel away a little bit of money each month, that's something you can do, then eventually you will be able to buy it. And in the long run, it'll be a really good middle ground option of, basically it'll be the same as printing photos at CVS. So that's something that I do anyway. If I have like a trip or something, I go to CVS and get some prints done, so I don't waste a lot of these guys for things that I do want to have for a long time. I even find that when I use this guy, I do tend to print multiple images at once, but they tend to all be different sizes, so just the convenience factor is through the roof with this one, because you can do different sizes. So I want to show you guys a little bit about how the app works. So I'm going to go here and hit PeriPage. This is the app and how it works. Okay, so the printer's out and I have to hold the button on it to turn it on. The button will turn green, and then this is going to, should auto connect to the printer. There it says connected successfully. It will do that automatically once you've already tried connecting it. And then you have a couple different things you can use here. So here you have the label sticker. That's for if you use their special label paper. I've never had it, so I don't really know how this works, but it seems from the reviews that it works pretty well. This text scanner actually, I believe, is in optical character recognition. So if I hold it over my notes here, it should be able to scan them. And then you hit the OCR button. And let's see how well that works. I haven't tried this feature before. Sure is taking a long time, I'll give it that much. And it seems like, yeah, this is pretty good character recognition now. This is not a great quality photo, but it is printed. This isn't going to work really well with handwriting because handwriting OCR is almost impossible to train so far. So I'm not going to worry about that. You can do collages, and they have lots of those, and like cute little things you can print out that are built right into the app. So that's really awesome. You can also, you can also do a document print from your files, I think. No, you can't do that. You have to connect it this way. I haven't done that before, but you could do that. It'd be a little complicated, and so I'll show you why later. Printing a big document would be a little bit tricky. You can also create a note yourself here, like this, test, test, test. And there it looks like there's some font options and some, you can write sideways, which is really helpful because there is a width limit that can be somewhat limiting. So that works great. But I'm going to show you guys, you can also do like banners, and they'll even let you take AR photos where you like place place something in your reality and then print that out, but that's like a lot of other features that I don't think many people are going to use, like the website one. The thing I think most people are going to want to use this for is maybe like text notes, which I already showed you that editor, and the photo printing. Okay, so I'm going to print this cute picture of a sad cat eating sad cat lettuce. And get that to print, confirm it. Now you have some options you can do with this sad lettuce cat. For example, you notice that it's a square photo, but because it was a screenshot on my phone, it's actually registering as a rectangle. So you can actually crop and rotate this right in the app. The best part about when you rotate is that the rotate shape actually rotates along with the cat. So for example, if I rotated it as a rectangle, you might think if I rotated the cat image, the rectangle would stay the same orientation, but that rectangle actually moves along with it, which I found to be useful in some situations. Because we have an image that is equal in height and width, we can just print it like this. And then when you hit this printer icon up in the upper right hand corner, it'll show you a pretty good idea of a realistic idea of how the picture is going to look. Now, I've actually printed this picture with the PeriPage printer before, and it didn't look so great when I did it then. Just the printer doesn't have the range or the fidelity to really print this image out in a way that is meaningful, and I was disappointed because I relate to this cat and I wanted it to be clear in my journal. So instead, let's try something a little bit different. By the way, they do have a lot of filters, which are pretty cool because they have to be, you know, some of them aren't going to be that useful because it's not a color printer, but some of them could be pretty cool. You can also adjust the brightness and contrast, which can be really useful with a black and white printer, or if you're printing a picture of a page. You can also do this, which is called crop to big picture, which basically means that you print out the same picture, but you make it bigger by printing out strips of the picture, and then you just glue them down and overlap them together, which I think is a really useful application for journaling. Even though it takes a couple extra minutes than printing with a regular printer, the cost savings I think make it very worth it. So I'm actually going to print this little guy out in 3 big strips and make a giant version of him. And I can afford to do that because the cost is so low for printing this guy. So I'm actually going to print him into 3 cuts. You can see when I select 3 cuts, that shows that it cuts the image into thirds. We could do up to 5. He'd be huge though, because let me tell you, when I'm not so good at spatial reasoning, it did not occur to me how big of a difference even changing it to 2 is going to make. But let's cut it into 3 to make him really huge, and you'll see how big this comes out. So instead of being receipt size, he's going to be triple the width of a receipt. So just think about how tall that's going to be. We hit print, and now they're showing us that he's going to have a little bit of a better resolution when he comes out now because he's going to be wider. All right, and now I'm going to start printing. So we've got the first strip is coming out here. You're just going to see how long this is going to be. This is strip 1. All right, so you can see we got the salad bowl. Okay, to get this out, there's actually built-in rip-off, so you can just rip that off. And here you go. There's the right side of the image. So you can see that it said how many centimeters have printed out so far, and that it's 1 out of 3 of strips that we're going to print. So the next step is to hit continue to print. If you hit print again, it'll print the first strip out again, but we want to print the second one out. So I'm going to hit the continue to print button, and it will print. Here we've got the second strip is printing out. You can see the little sad cat face. Poor little guy. There he is with his little lettuce leaf, which you still can't quite see because this picture is hard to show in black and white. So now we just have to print out the last page. So I'm just going to hit that continue to print button, and we'll get the last one out. And if you hit print again, it's going to print the sad little cat strip again. And here comes the third one. The other part of his little sad face. Get that off. Oops, sometimes that happens. But you know what you can do? You can just hit the print again button if you care to. Now, I actually do not care to do that because I don't actually care that much. Because this is just a test print. So I'm going to leave it like this, and it's going to be a little bit imperfect. But I'm going to get a piece of paper, and actually I'll just do it in my journal. I actually have a blank page I can use. I'll just plop it in there. because I would not mind having this in my new journal. So I'm gonna put it over here on this side. So basically you just take a glue stick, you figure out which one is right and which one is left, and then you just lay them down. You wanna make sure the ones with the overlap are on the bottom. So since this is the bottommost one, I'm gonna put this on the right. I learned this new trick for Paperworm's cat. It's not really a trick, it's more like common sense, which I am lacking, but she uses glue, a piece of paper to do her gluing instead of just gluing it straight on the notebook paper. Oh, I don't want to put it over that pretty flower. I'll put it up here. Yep. Then here's the middle. Okay, so I forgot about this part. You have to cut off the right side. So, you know, if you're taking this printer with you, you may want to take a little scissors with you. I always do. And you just line it up. It's kind of like the most satisfying thing ever to line these up, actually. Little known fact. It's not perfect, but look, you can see his little sad face. And then we're going to just print this up. Cut this out. I don't know what I was trying to say. Little brain gremlin took over for a second there. There you go. There's the picture. Wait, this looks like I messed it up. Whoops. To make sure you line everything up from top to bottom and not just like part. Oh dear, now I've really done it this time. There is that one. So look, we got that huge picture. Bigger, you could print this on an actual piece of regular printer paper, but with other small mini photo printers, I don't think you could get a picture this big. And if I hadn't messed it up, which I usually don't, and if I had a functioning glue stick, which most people do, it would have just taken just a couple seconds to get this glued in and looking pretty decent. It's not quite perfect. You'd probably line yours up better than I did, but you can get something pretty cool and functional really quickly out of this little printer. Let me show you guys how small the original, if I just print the tiny one out with one strip, looks. This is the sad little lettuce cat. So look, so if you actually understand math, as I don't, this is probably, I think this is about a ninth the size of this. So that's the difference you'll get. There's the cat, no banana cat, I like that one too. So that's the variety of images, sizes that you can get, and resolutions you can get out of this little printer. So even though that's what I was talking about when I said it doesn't have very good resolution, but you can kind of work around that if you're willing to print out larger images. So you can get a variety of image sizes. Something else really cool you can do is you can print out really long images, like unusual images of different ratios. So that's been something that's really fun for me to experiment with. That is Dumbledore taking his thought out with the pensieve, I guess. So look, that's like a cool long like header image that I found on Google Images, and because it's just in my journal, I don't care whose copyright it is, it's mine. So those are the different kinds of images you can get out of here. So to conclude, this printer is something that is not going to create permanent prints. It will have a limited lifetime, so if you're somebody who's really into archival quality journaling, you want your great-grandchildren to see every meme that you print out on this printer, then this is not going to be a good choice for you. However, it's also black and white, and it is not so high fidelity, so that's another concern, although you can use varying image sizes and the built-in software, not built-in, the accompanying software to work around those issues. This printer is so cost-effective that I think it would be really useful for a lot of people who are looking for a cost-effective way to temporarily print things out. Apart from journaling, you can also use this printer to print out little sticky notes and reminders for yourself, or to hand notes to people if you have bad handwriting or something like that, or if you just want to make a joke and like leave an image on someone's desk and it doesn't matter really that it lasts a long time. So lots of great uses for this printer, including journaling uses in my opinion. I highly recommend it. One more thing before I go. I want to show you guys, this is the case that I got for it. It's not affiliated. I think it's broken. And you can hold a printer roll in here. I'll link it in the description below. But it was an inexpensive case to go with the printer. I like this so that I can take the printer with me on the go and have a little extra protection, because sometimes I like to journal outside and then there will be rain all over the place and I don't want my printer getting rained on. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you have a great day, Let me know if you decide to get this PeriPages printer. Let me know how you like it, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.